Hey, welcome back here for the last part of the Photoshop 3D tutorial series. And in this one, we're going to take this YouTube free for commercial use shape and arrow here, and we're going to create a 3D object out of it. And I'm just going to kind of make it look like it's sitting on a surface here in this white 3D space. So I've got this new document set up. It's 1280 by 720 to help with rendering so it doesn't take as long, and I'm going to walk you through how to take this 2D image and create it into 3D. So let's jump right in. What I want to do first is I'm going to duplicate this so we have the original, and I'm just going to rename this let's say red outer shape. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my selection tool and go to the magic wand. You can use Shift W, and actually let me turn this on for us so you can see the keys I'm pressing. And I want to use that to select this arrow. Now I'm going to go up here and I want to make sure that the anti-alias is checked, and I want to have the tolerance only at 1 because I only want to select one color. So I'm going to select that, and if you zoom in closely, you're going to see that it's going to pick up some of the things. Anti-aliasing, what it's going to do is it's going to smooth it out to make it look less jagged. If I didn't have that on and I go to select it, it's only going to select the white, but then when you copy it to a new layer, it's going to look really jagged. So let's go ahead and turn that on, tolerance of 1, and select it, and then we're going to right click and go to layer via copy, and we're going to call this arrow. Now what I want to do on this other shape is I just want to make it completely red, and that way we have the outer shape and then an arrow shape that we're going to move into 3D space. So let's just go over here to our shape tool, and I'm going to go up here to my fill layer, and I'm going to pick this red. No, let's not do that. Fill, and then the color picker, there we go. Now pick that same color red since it's all one color, and then I'm going to draw a shape over that arrow. And then when I go in here, I'm going to disable this. You can see that it's covered up that arrow, and I'm going to take this rectangle and I'm going to copy this text and put it where it says rectangle 1. And then we're going to select these two by holding shift, and I'm going to control E to merge those into one shape. So now if I take this off and this one, you can see that it's just that shape, and then we've got our arrow. So it's a little jagged here, but if we zoom out, we can see that it kind of blends in well. So once we make it into a 3D layer, we shouldn't even be able to notice. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take this arrow, we're going to right click on it, go to new 3D extrusion from selected layer. I'm going to go back to my layers panel. And for now, I'm going to take this where it says catch shadows and cast shadows. I'm going to turn that off for now. And then we're going to go into my red outer shape and do the same thing. Right click, new 3D extrusion from selection layer. Now what that does is it's going to make both of those layers 3D. Now we want to work with those in the same 3D space. So what I can do is I can shift click to select both of those layers, and then we're going to go up to this 3D menu and go to merge 3D layers. That puts them into the same space. When we go into our 3D tab, we have the red outer shape and then we have the arrow, so we can manipulate both of those in there. Now I want to move the arrow above the red outer shape, and I'm going to drop these down so we're not going to mess with those right now. And what I need to do is I need to take the red outer shape and I need to move it behind the arrow to show that I can see it. So if we go to our 3D camera tools, we can rotate it around, and we also don't want it that fat, so we're going to take the extrusion depth way down, and we'll do it about right there. And then I'm going to go to the arrow, and let's see, we've got this one at 62.5. Let's go ahead and just make the arrow about 25. We'll hit enter, and then we're going to move the arrow forward in 3D space until it pops out. So there we go. So about right there. So now if we orbit around, not rotation, got to watch out for that. We can see that we've got a little bit of the extrusion here, and looking pretty good so far. So now if we go back to layers, we can click on the background and we can see what it looks like. Now it looks really jagged because we haven't rendered the shape yet, and we can see it looks really bad. So let's go into the arrow, and we'll go to our 3D layer, and I want to turn the shadows back on to show you the difference. So if we move around here, you can see that it's now got the shadow and collecting the light. So let's move this light. If we click on here, we can move the shadow just a little bit. So it's going to notice how it changes the shadow here and here because we've got both of the layers in the 3D space. So I'm going to move this around, and what I want to do is I just want to have this shadow here to make it look like it's sitting. So I'm going to kind of make it look like it's coming up from the side and up from this upper right hand corner. I can go back to my layers, and click on that to see if I get the desired effect. So I think I'm going to bring this out just a little bit, in fact, and I want to click on my shape here, and let's click on both of these. And we're going to move this, and actually let's move it back a little bit. And then we're going to move the camera over. So I want to kind of center it in the middle of the screen. If I go back, I can see what it looks like. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Now you could go around here and you could make some different changes if you wanted to add some different things in the scene, but for this tutorial I just want to kind of make it a little more simple so you can see how to make a 3D object. You can do this with logos, you can do it with simple shapes, you can create your own shapes and do the extrusion. But now if I go into the layers, I can right click on this and go to render 3D layer. So if I click on that, you'll get this rendering again, like in the last video, and it's going to go through and it's going to pick out everything in the scene and render it into a little bit more of a 3D effect. Now it's going to take about 3 minutes to render that, and then once it's doing that, let me go ahead and slow this down for a second. We'll pause it, hitting escape, and then you can right click and always go to resume render. I wanted to show you one other thing though that you can do if you have a 3D layer. Let's say we wanted to duplicate this, and we're going to right click and we're going to go to rasterize 3D. And so what that does is it's going to make it into a 3D layer. But let's go back. I want to do this one more time, and I'm going to show you one other thing that you can do to make it get this shadow effect if you didn't use the 3D layer. Alright, so we're going to go up here. Let's go to our 3D. We're going to select our red outer shape. We're going to uncheck cast shadows and catch. And then we're going to also do that on the arrow, uncheck cast shadows. So now if we go back to our layers, we turn this one off, we don't have any shadows on our 3D layers. So let's now right click on this and go to rasterize 3D. And now we're going to have this 3D shape. What you can do is you can go to your shape tools and use an ellipse and draw it out about the width of the shape. You can even go a little bit smaller, and we're going to change the color to like a really dark gray, and I want to just do 333, and we'll go a little bit darker. Okay, and then what you can do is come up here and position it behind that outer shape. And so maybe you want to, work with this in, it's more like a 2D shape, but you could go and you could render out the 3D shape and then create your own shadow so you don't have to worry about rendering time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this shape and I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. Let's go down here. And we're going to position it underneath here to make it look like it's sitting. And then I'm going to take the opacity down just a little bit, about to 80%, and then I'm going to go up to filter, blur, and then Gaussian blur. And then yes, we'll go ahead and convert it to a smart object, and then I can select my blur on how much I want. So I'm going to do probably, let's do about right there, about 8.6, and go to OK. And then I can move this around until I get the desired effect that I want. Now this, I would like to render this out, but I'm not going to take the 2 minutes, so just bear in mind this low quality 3D shape. But anyway, so we've got the ellipse and we can move it around, and then what we can do is take the opacity a little bit down even further until we get kind of like underneath the 3D layer. You could even take it down like this to make it look like it's floating. So it's how you see people get that 3D effect to make it look like shape is suspended in the air or anything like that. So let's take this off. If we go back to here, you can see that we've got the 3D effect. We can click on this background, and it looks a little better because I did start rendering it. So that's basically it for this tutorial. I just want to show you how you can take 2D and put it into 3D. And this is all for the 3D tutorial series. I really like doing the series because it shows a series of 2 or 3 videos that give you kind of perspective on the thing that you're learning. So if there's any ideas that you guys have, please let me know. I'm willing to do just about anything in Photoshop, After Effects, and Premiere to reinforce some of the efficient workflows and other things that you learn that really are beneficial and will take your skill set to the next level. So thank you guys for being here, and I'll see you in the next one.